Hey everybody, welcome back to the SuperBake podcast. I'm your host, Baker. Let's talk about stuff. So before I get into the material I want to discuss tonight, I just want to take some time and just talk about the newest Bleach episodes that have released on Hulu, the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. I've been watching it. I think they're on episode 8, and holy shit. I gotta be honest, this new season of Bleach kicks fucking ass. Only 8 episodes in, I'm not sure exactly how long it's gonna be, but damn, it has been just badass. Number one, the animation is significantly better than what I remember. I think the budget's definitely, I'd have to look into it, but I think the budget for this season is much higher than what it was for previous seasons. I've been out of the Bleach game for a while. I stopped watching after the after the Wake Up Mundo arc and they fought Aizen and the Arankars. I watched a little bit of the arc after that, I think it was Fullbring, but I don't remember a whole lot about it, to be honest. I know Ichigo loses his powers and then he has to try to get them back, and of course he inevitably does, but yeah, this new season has just been so cool. I love the villain, Uebach, I think is how you pronounce it. I'm probably butchering that name, but him and the Quincy's, the Stern Ritter, oh my god, that's so cool. I like how each villain group kind of has their names and their lore kind of uses different words from different cultures. So the Arankar arc was mostly Spanish terms. And then now the Quincy's are using mostly German terms. So it's kind of cool, these different, how they're incorporating different languages into these different groups they encounter. I think that's kind of a cool little detail that Tite Kubo's added to it. I like it. It makes them kind of different than what you would see from a typical villain group from other anime series. But yeah, I'll kind of go into that arc in more detail in another podcast maybe, not an episodic review or anything like that. I'll probably just, once the entire arc finishes, I'll probably just kind of give my thoughts on it. That is something that I've considered doing, is maybe going back and watching some of my favorite anime and just maybe reviewing them arc by arc, maybe One Piece or Naruto or Dragon Ball Z or something like that. We'll see. Kind of depends on how my schedule looks, but I just want to take some time and talk about that, because it's definitely won me over for sure. I mean, I wasn't hesitant going into it or anything like that, but I wasn't really expecting a whole lot. But yeah, it's definitely far exceeded my expectations. So if you haven't watched it yet, and if you're a fan of Bleach or just anime in general, definitely check out the new 1,000-Year Blood War arc. But anyways, wanted to talk about the latest trailer for the new Super Mario Bros. Movie that just came out recently. I think it came out yesterday or the day before the time of this recording this podcast. I'm not really 100% sure, but got to watch that, and you get to see a lot more in the trailer, that's for sure. So I just kind of want to take some time and just kind of talk about that a little bit. So you do get to hear a little bit more of Chris Pratt talk as Mario. I gotta say, for as much shit as he got for in the first teaser trailer for it, I think he actually sounds okay. It definitely sounds like he's trying to do a little bit of an Italian Brooklyn accent for Mario. It's oddly fitting in a way. Actually, I was going to say Charlie Day, who plays Luigi, you get to hear him actually speak as Luigi in the trailer. There's a scene where he gets to talk to Bowser very briefly. And Charlie Day's voice actually, I don't know if he fits Luigi in my mind. I guess because he doesn't, number one, he doesn't really sound like how Luigi has sounded in previous games like Smash Bros. Or kind of going off of Luigi's Mansion, because I played the third one not long ago. And I don't know, just something about his voice just doesn't quite fit Luigi. I mean, the fact that he's not really doing a Brooklyn or Italian accent doesn't really bother me too much. I don't think it's a bad voice necessarily, and maybe if I watch the movie, maybe he'll win me over. I like Charlie Day. I'm a huge fan of his, so I mean, I'm going to reserve judgment there. But yeah, I have to say, I like Chris Pratt's voice for Mario a little bit more than I like Charlie Day as Luigi, and I don't know how other people are going to feel about that, but I'm just being honest. We get to hear a little bit more of Jack Black speaking as Bowser, and his voice sounds a little bit deeper and almost more booming than it did in the teaser trailer. So I don't know if maybe they've done something to his voice, like maybe they've added an effect to it, but it definitely sounds much more imposing, and it fits Bowser, I think, quite a bit. So I like that. His little scene with Luigi is definitely kind of cool. I like that. There's just a lot of little Easter eggs in this trailer. Then I'll kind of talk about those here in a little bit. Anna Taylor-Joy, who plays Peach, we get to hear her talk a little bit in this one. Her voice, I mean, she doesn't really have an iconic voice. Of course, then again, neither do Charlie Day or Pratt. She sounds fine. I do think it's a kind of interesting to cast her in a movie like this. Not to say that, I mean, just because she's a big up-and-coming actress and you're seeing her in a lot more stuff, but it's just kind of funny seeing the actress from, like, The Witch and a lot of other, big-time Hollywood movies like The Witch, Glass, and stuff like that, playing Peach in a movie like this. But then again, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think she's fine as Peach. I don't know. I never really was a huge fan of Peach's character, so I kind of feel like maybe you could have gotten any actress to play her in this. But I mean, I think Joy does a pretty good job with what, at least from what I've seen in the trailer so far. It seems like she's kind of giving her a little bit of spunk and some decent personality, which I always kind of felt like Peach didn't really have much of in the original games, so that's kind of cool. Keegan-Michael Key as Toad, again, probably the best casting that I've seen in both trailers. Like, I never would have guessed that was him. It just, the way he pulls off that voice for Toad is just so great. And then, yeah, just the different Easter eggs in the trailer are just great. Like, there's definitely a lot of nods to other Nintendo properties. Like, I feel like in the beginning, we get to see Donkey Kong. We don't get to hear him talk, because I think Seth Rogen is supposed to voice Donkey Kong. I really was hoping to hear how he would sound, but we don't hear him speak. But there's a nice little, I'm guessing it's supposed to be a nod to Super Smash Bros., because we see the Mario and Donkey Kong have sort of like a little brief altercation, which Mario just gets the shit kicked out of him. And the way Donkey Kong had him pinned to the ground and was just beating the living crap out of him reminded me of, like, his Donkey Kong's, like, down B attack from the Smash Bros. Games, where he would just slap the ground and cause, like, little tiny earthquakes. So I wonder if it was supposed to be a nod to that. I'm not really sure. I also noticed that when Mario jumped and went to go try to punch DK, that was also one of his moves in Smash Bros. When you jump as Mario and hit the control stick, you click the control stick to the side and click A. I'm going off of the GameCube controller because that's what I always used. Like, Mario would always do, like, his like jump punch attack. It was kind of like a downward punch, and it looked like that's what he was doing in this. So I'm kind of wondering if that was supposed to be like a nod to the old Smash Bros. Games. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of little Easter eggs like that throughout the movie. And this was definitely one of those, like, blink and you'll miss it type trailers. Like, we get to see several other references to the old Mario games. Like, we see I think it's called the Tanuki shirt or costume, where Mario turns into the little raccoon creature and can fly around. We get a very brief glimpse of that. The fire flower shows up in this. We see Peach use that very briefly in the trailer. We see several other just iconic enemies from the old Mario games. Like, we see Bullet Bill, Goombas, Shy Guys. That was really cool. I wonder if Fuzzies are going to be in this movie. I'd like to see that. Like, I've said this before, but I really hope there's going to be some kind of nod to the old Paper Mario games. If they do that, to me, that's just going to be the icing on the cake. I would love to see just some kind of reference to Paper Mario. I don't even care what it is, whether it's one of the your old party members, if one of them has a cameo in this movie, even if they're just in the background or something like that, or just, I don't know, some kind of reference. I would love it. We get to see Yoshi too. Actually, there's like a herd of Yoshi in this trailer, so kind of makes me wonder, like, if the actual Yoshi character is going to be in this and how big of a role he's going to play. I imagine he'll probably show up at least at some point in this movie. But that was really cool. And then another thing that I thought was a really awesome nod back to the old Mario games was we actually get to see Mario driving around on his cart. And so we get the huge reference to Mario Kart. And he even gets to drive down Rainbow Road and does his iconic little sound effect that he does. We even get to hear the Mario jump sound effect in the movie whenever he jumps with his cart, which I thought was really cool. I think this movie is definitely going to be a love letter to the old classic Mario games, so I'm excited to see it. Like, this trailer, every trailer I see for it just keeps getting me more and more excited to see it, even if it is supposed to be kind of geared towards kids. But yeah, One thing I'm kind of curious about, though, I guess I'm just kind of curious. Like, I know it's a Hollywood movie, so you got to have the big name actors in it, but I guess I'm just kind of curious. Like, we've already got voice actors from Mario and Luigi and Peach and stuff from like the video games. I guess I'm just kind of curious, like, why they don't just have those people voice their respective characters in the movie. But I get it. It's Hollywood. Like, you got to have big name actors in it because that's what's going to attract people and get asses in seats and make money. So I get it. Hollywood's a fucking money machine. They gotta make their bucks back. So makes sense. But I mean, it's a fucking Mario movie. There's no way in hell this movie is not gonna make just a metric butt ton of money. This is it's nuts. Like, this movie's gonna break the box office probably, and can almost guarantee there's gonna be sequels. Like, all this movie has to do is make even a little bit of a profit, and there's definitely going to be sequels for it, which I'm almost willing to bet there's definitely going to be. Between this movie and Sonic, I could definitely see a whole franchise of like super or video game character movies. Like, actually animated. Well, Sonic is animated, but he also is in the real world. But this is like 100% animated. So I could definitely see more movies like this working. Like, we could see ones for Kirby. I could get behind an animated Legend of Zelda movie instead of trying to make it live action. I could get behind animated if it was like kind of like in this style, maybe a little bit darker and maybe a little bit more serious. But I could totally get behind that. I mean, I'm trying to think of other properties they could do, like Star Fox. Oh my God, Star Fox would be so fucking cool. Like, I know Star Fox wasn't quite as big as Mario. Like, he doesn't have as many games. There's not as many like games in the Star Fox franchise, but God, I love those fucking games. I'd see that movie. I'm willing to bet I wouldn't be alone there. I don't know. I'm just trying to spitball other properties they could do, but yeah, I think this is definitely going to be a good movie worth watching. At the very least, I think if you're a fan of the old Mario games, this is definitely going to. I think it's going to give you a lot to enjoy about it. So I'll be looking forward to this movie when it comes out early next year. So I guess I'll just continue this episode talking about other trailers. I think that's going to be a little bit of a different format than what I normally do. Just a lot of trailers premiered this week, like too many to count, honestly. But the next one I wanted to talk about was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, which is slated to come out, looks like it is next year, June 30th, 2013. So yeah, I saw the new trailer for that. So I knew that they were working on this movie because I remember hearing, I think in an interview, either Harrison Ford had talked about it or somebody signed on with the movie was talking about it. So I knew this was happening. I am a huge Indiana Jones fan. I love the original trilogy. He is arguably my favorite, like, movie hero growing up. I was obsessed with Indiana Jones. I tried to get my parents to get me like a whip because of those movies and the fedora. Yeah, I loved them. I've got the collection on Blu-ray right now. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I could take or leave. It's fine, I guess. Which that came out like, what, over 10 years ago? So, and Harrison Ford was already pretty old in that movie, so like he was already in his 70s, and he's like 80 years old now. So I am cautiously optimistic about this movie. I'll just talk about the trailer first before I kind of get my thoughts on that. But yeah, the trailer, it looks like we're going to be introduced to this girl who appears to be related to Indiana in some way. There's a clip in the trailer where he says he's her godfather, and she mentions something about them being potentially related. So I'm guessing that there's some kind of relation there. Her name is Helena, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I also saw that Mads Mikkelsen is signed on to this movie, so I'm definitely interested. And it looks like he's playing the villain in this film. I also saw that John Rhys Davies is going to be in this as well, and he is in the trailer. We see him have a little heartwarming reunion with Indiana, talking about the good old days. That was really cool. I miss his character. I liked him in the original trilogy, and if I remember correctly, I don't recall if he was in Crystal Skull. He may have been. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I've seen that movie, and it's not one of my favorites. But yeah, it looks like in this movie, based on what I see in the trailer, it looks like there's going to be a lot of we see a lot of memories from Indy's past. Mads Mikkelsen appears to have some kind of past relationship with Indiana Jones. There is some de-aging technology they use in this. I did notice that there's several clips where it shows Indy, Harrison Ford, they de-aged him quite a bit. I will say, I'm not a huge fan of de-aging technology, but I do feel like it is making some pretty good improvements. For the most part, when there's a clip where they show Harrison Ford and he's tied and bound to a chair, and they pull a mask off of him, and he looks like he did in the original movies for the most part, but it's a very short clip, so I don't know, maybe that benefits it. We'll have to see when the movie comes out. I mean, I'm gonna have to see this. It's Indiana Jones. I like for my childhood memories, I'm almost required to see this movie. So, but yeah, it looks like Mads Mikkelsen's character has some kind of past with Indiana Jones. So we get to see like there's kind of a previous rivalry between the two of them, or some kind of something going on, and then it looks like that's kind of come into the present day. Well, present, this takes place in the past, obviously. And then, of course, we get to see Jones kind of doing his globetrotting like he normally does, except now he's, an old man. One thing I'm very curious about with this movie is how it's going to work with Harrison Ford being as old as he is. I mean, he was in, The Force Awakens. He did fine in that movie. He was probably about in his mid-70s at that point, because that came out about, 5 years ago? Something like that, 5 or 6 years ago. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think Harrison Ford, I like him. He definitely seems like he's becoming a cranky old man, which I kind of find funny, honestly. I always like it whenever people ask him questions about either Star Wars or Indiana Jones. Like, I think, what was it? He was at a convention, and somebody asked him during one of the press conferences, they asked him, like, hey, if Han Solo and Indiana Jones met in real life, what would they say to each other? And his reaction was just, hi. I mean, yeah, I don't know. He's kind of earned it. He's Harrison Ford, I mean, on the one hand, you could make the argument like, dude, you're kind of being a bit of a jerk about two movie properties that are arguably the reason why you're famous and rich. But, I mean, he's kind of a Hollywood legend, so I don't know. I think he's kind of earned it a little bit. I mean, he can feel however he wants about the movies. He doesn't have to like them. I always find it funny when celebrities act like that. Like when they talk shit on movies or TV shows that made them famous, like they look back, like, I get it, like, especially if you did a show or something in the past that was kind of dumb and you're not particularly proud of it, but Star Wars is like one of the most famous movie franchises in history. And Indiana Jones, again, a very well-known movie character and one of my personal favorites, and millions of people out there, I'm willing to bet. But I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic about this movie. Like I said, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was fine. I didn't hate it. I think it gets a little more hate than it deserves, but it's definitely not one of my favorites. The original trilogy, that's the shit. Fucking Raiders, Temple of Doom, The Last Crusade. I mean, if I had to pick a favorite out of all of those, I would probably have to say Last Crusade. I love Sean Connery's character in there. That feels like the biggest adventure out of all three of them. I just think it's the best one, personally. And it's got that awesome action sequence with the tank. I mean, everything about that movie is just fantastic. But this looks like it's going to have, some pretty good action scenes, too. It looks like it's going to kind of go back and forth between the present and the past. I'm guessing, if I had to make a prediction, I'm going to go ahead and guess that there's probably going to be a stunt double that they're going to use for Harrison Ford's character. And I would guess that guy is going to play Indy in the past, and they're just going to use CGI and de-aging technology to render Indy's face over the younger guy, and he's going to handle the action sequences for, like, past Indy. That's my guess. And I'm willing to bet you, just based on the footage I saw in the trailer, there's going to be quite a bit of, like, footage from the past. They use it on Mads Mikkelsen's character, too, in the movie, I noticed. There's a scene where, I think it's the same scene where they show him and he has Indiana Jones captured. And Mads Mikkelsen looks considerably younger in the clip. So, yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I thought I heard rumors that this was going to be John Williams' final time doing the score for this, for the Indiana Jones movies. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't looked into that too much, but if that is the case, I mean, that's kind of sad. But because his score is just, I mean, it's just amazing. That Indiana Jones music, when it plays in that trailer, I mean, I'd be lying if I said I didn't get a little nostalgic listening to that. Little nostalgic tear listening to that music play out. Yeah, his music is fantastic. That Indiana Jones music, I mean, that's iconic. How can you not love that shit?
So yeah, but I thought I heard rumors that this was going to be the last time he was going to do the score for Indiana Jones. So if that's the case, man, that's like the end of an era for sure. Just out of curiosity, I'm looking it up right now. He is, wow, John Williams he's 90 years old. Wow. And quite a career for sure. Made some of the most iconic, movie scores, in history. So yeah, what a career to leave behind for sure. But yeah, I mean, it looks like there's a few other stars tagged onto it. Antonio Banderas is in the trailer. We didn't get to see him do a whole lot, so I'm kind of curious to see like what his role is going to be in there. We see Boyd Holbrook in there a little bit. Looks like he's playing, I'm guessing, kind of an antagonistic role. It looked like he may have been working with Mads Mikkelsen's character. I could be wrong about that. Toby Jones was in there too. Love him. Ollie Weeks from the Mist. He had a kind of well, not a small role, but he was in, I think, was it Winter Soldier? I think he was one of the Nazis in there. Okay, this is interesting. Brad Pitt is signed on to this movie. Okay. I'm looking at the cast list for this movie. Brad Pitt is signed on for some reason. Okay. That's interesting. I don't know if I believe that. I don't think he was in the trailer at the very least. Of course, that doesn't mean he's not going to be in the film. Okay, well, interesting. We'll keep an eye out for that. He did have a cameo in Deadpool 2, so maybe he's going to be in this one. And then Karen Allen is signed on to this as well, it looks like. So I know she was also in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. She reprised her character. I can't remember her character's name. I always forget her character's name in that movie. But yeah, it looks like she is signed on to this movie as well. So that'll be cool. It'll be cool to kind of see her reprise her character from Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was actually one thing I will say about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I felt like her character was honestly her kind of the saving grace of that film. Not necessarily like her performance, but just like her relationship with Indy. It was one of those situations where, at least in my opinion, I kind of thought the nostalgia kind of worked in the movie's favor in a sense. I don't like it when movies try to bring back stuff, like when sequels try to bring back stuff from like an older movie as a cheap trick to get audiences to see it. And I would make the argument that's why she was in that movie, but I do think it kind of almost worked in the movie's favor. It worked in spite of itself, I guess, in my opinion. But regardless, I'm yammering on about, other stuff. I wouldn't say I'm excited for this movie. I think I'm more curious. I'm just curious to see how it's going to play out. I like Harrison Ford. I'm a little worried about how his age is going to affect it. That guy, he needs to be careful. I know I think he broke his leg or something while filming The Force Awakens. Because I think they were shooting a scene where like one of they were supposed to be on a spaceship, and I think one of those doors like came down on his leg and broke it, apparently. That's what I heard, at least, when they were shooting that movie. So he was out of commission for a few months because of it. It's like, man, dude, you gotta be careful, man. You're a national treasure. We can't be having you getting hurt, dude. It's like, just retire from movies and let somebody else take the reins. I mean, he'll always be the iconic Indiana Jones. Nobody will ever replace him, but like, I don't know. I think there's some actors that might be able to at least do a different version of him. But Harrison Ford will always be the quintessential Indiana Jones, at least for me. Yeah, I mean, I'll probably check out this movie. This probably won't be one that I do a review of unless it just really knocks my socks off, which I don't see that happening. But at the very least, I mean, as long as it is at least better than Crystal Skull, I'm on board. So we'll see. So now I wanted to talk about the trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Probably said this before on the podcast. My favorite Marvel team in the MCU, like bar none. Love the movies. First one, fantastic movie. Second one, I would say not quite as good as the first movie, but still really good. And let me just state this for the record. The first movie, the bar was set pretty fucking high as far as I'm concerned. So been waiting for this movie for a while. I'm excited to see this. So basically the premise, from what I could find, it looks like essentially the Guardians purchase Nowhere, the giant space station from the first movie. They buy it from the Collector, and they're basically trying to help outlaws and people displaced across the galaxy from the blip that happened from Thanos at the end of Infinity War. I'm not really quite sure who the villain is in this movie. They show him in the trailer. I'm not super familiar with him. I saw his name somewhere once, but I completely forgot. I think it was called High Evolution is his name. I don't really know a whole lot about him. But yeah, basically this, I mean, it looks like everything the Guardians of the Galaxy should be. It like you know, it looks like there's going to be plenty of humor that you would expect from the previous movies. Or High Evolutionary. Sorry, that's the guy's name. High Evolutionary. I'm looking this up as I'm doing the podcast. So, but yeah, it looks like it's going to have all of the humor that you would expect from the Guardians. There's a great scene in the movie where they show up on this planet where it looks like it's basically like a urban suburbia, but it's like aliens, like these weird animal people. And you see Drax just being his usual self, where this girl throws a ball at him and he just smashes it back in her face. I fucking love Drax. And like just Dave Bautista, his laugh, I swear to God, he has one of the most infectious laughs I've ever heard in my life. But yeah, most of the returning cast: Chris Pratt, of course, Zoe Saldana, Karen Gillan returns as Nebula, who, just want to say, just for the record, Karen Gillan, I think that's how you say her last name. God, she's so hot. Like, she's like one of my celebrity crushes right now. I like her, and I also like the chick who plays Galadriel from Rings of Power. I don't know what it is. I like those girls. They're very pretty. Sean Gunn again returns as Kraglin. Hope I'm saying his name right. Dave Bautista, mentioned him before, and then of course Vin Diesel reprising his role as Groot, who in this movie we actually get the adult Groot again, or at least I think he's supposed to be like a young adult Groot, because in the last one he was like teenage Groot. It's kind of cool actually hearing Vin Diesel's voice sound like Vin Diesel again, so that was cool. Hearing the iconic "I am Groot" in that voice, that was definitely a nice feeling for sure. And then also, of course, joining the cast was Will Poulter as Adam Warlock. I know they hinted at Adam Warlock at the very end. It was like the after credits scene in Guardians 2, where those golden people, I think, were either trying to resurrect him or bring him back or something like that. I need to go back and watch the second movie again. I might watch both those movies just to prepare for this when it comes out. But yeah, that's cool. Adam Poulter, I haven't seen him in a lot lately, so seeing him as Adam Warlock, I mean, he looks pretty good. He definitely looks the part. Kind of looks like they spray painted him a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sure once the movie comes out, it'll look better. So it's just funny. Like, I played the video game, which I absolutely loved, so I'm really curious to see how this version of Adam Warlock is going to compare to that version, because the one in that game was like hilarious, just because of the way he spoke, his mannerisms, and how serious he was. I hope they capture that in this movie. Another little tidbit I saw in the trailer was that Cosmo the space dog is going to be in this too. I know we got a very brief glimpse of him in the first movie when we first are introduced to the Collector. I know I think in the comics and also in the video game, he kind of becomes like the chief, like, security officer of Nowhere after the Collector is taken out or whatever. So hopefully he'll have more of a role in this. Like, we only get a glimpse of him in the trailer walking with the Guardians, so I really hope we get more of him in this. I love him in the video game. He is hilarious. All the bits with him are just fantastic. But yeah, it looks like we also are going to get a little bit of more background into Rocket's past, which I'm really glad to see. He's my favorite character of those movies, and I kept waiting for us to get more of that. I was really surprised that it took this long to get it. But hey, if they're gonna, this is supposed to be the last movie, which is a little depressing, but I guess if they're going to end it, I'm happy with the final movie and the Guardians story, focusing more on Rocket's past. We get to see him as a baby when they were experimenting on him, just baby Rocket, just so adorable. like really, I think it's going to be, this seems like it's going to hit a lot of emotional beats. It's going to be very sad, but and then it looks like there's a scene where we see Rocket hugging like an otter, which I'm guessing is one of his friends or something, one of his old friends. This is most likely a character from the comics, I'm guessing. Never read Marvel comics, not familiar with them, so forgive me on that if I don't know who the character is. But yeah, it looks like Rocket is definitely going to have a much bigger part in this movie, which I'm all for. Definitely all for that. Just seeing more of his past, and again, like I said, seeing him as a baby, he's freaking adorable. So I can't wait to see that. I hope, it almost kind of looks like maybe something happens to him. So I'm hoping that, this isn't going to be him dying. I'll be really mad. I'm going to riot in the street if that happens. But yeah, like I'm excited to see this. I'm definitely more excited to see this than I think a lot of other movies that I've seen trailers for. Let's see, when is the release date for it? I just had it up to. Let's see, release date for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Hang on. May 5th, 2023. So not too far away, a few months. Yeah, I definitely can't wait for this movie. Like I said, my favorite team and my favorite movies in the MCU. Although I do like the Captain America films, particularly Winter Soldier. I think those are really good, and Civil War is also really good. But yeah, I will for sure be checking this movie out, and most likely I'll do a review of it as well. So yeah, excited for this one for sure.
All right, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight's episode. Once again, I am on Anchor, Spotify, and YouTube. Please feel free to follow, like, and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time. Later.